Plebeians, Neo with the Balding Plebs. I'm joined here tonight by Big Rick.
What is up,
And,
you guys?
and tonight we are here for the funeral of Ubisoft Leamington, UK. That's
Daniel,
that's right.
before we get into this,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No,
I
no,
don't want to interrupt you.
you're good.
However, I think it's the right thing to do is that we give Leamington, UK a moment of silence. Starting now. Okay, that's enough.
So this comes to us from at 80 level. Ubisoft has shut down its studio in Leamington, UK, and fired 185 employees across several of its offices. The Leamington office worked on Star Wars Outlaws, Skull and Bones, and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Now, there is something that, to me, all three of those games have in common.
I was just about to say that.
They're all failed projects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ricky, you and I talked about this. We've talked about this on episodes of the Exposed Gaming podcast. We've talked about this together amongst ourselves. These studios see the writing on the walls. They see it. And yet they don't course correct. They stuck how many years into Skull and Bones with maybe
11.
one of the most mediocre mid receptions
Mm-hmm.
in gaming history for the amount of time and money that they stuck into that game. You know what Skull and Bones reminded me of? Concord gets all the credit, but you know what game? You know what Skull and Bones reminds me of?
What's
Concord.
that?
Concord.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is just devastating, dude, to stick millions of dollars into a project and barely have people playing it. And of course, we had the bots and the dick riders in the comments when we were talking about it, telling us how it was going to be their game for years to come. Baby, you ain't going to be able to play it for years to come because that bitch is getting shut down. Ricky, your take on the situation with the three games.
This is all I have to say, right? And aside from all these having in common is that they're failures, a Skull and Bones side, they're two massive IPs that Ubisoft got the license to, and they still fucked it up.
Yep.
Like, I don't. How is that possible? It's Outlaws, for example. It's the same generic open world slop that Ubisoft put out time and time again, and same thing with Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Now, as for Skull and Bones, we already know why that game sucks. There's a slew of reasons, like from gameplay
You
to
know,
art style to world design.
I'll tell you what Skull and Bones was, and you can tell me if you disagree or disagree. It
Yeah.
was it was Timu Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating. Is Black Flag was so popular that Ubisoft was like, okay, let's make a naval game based off of Black Flag's combat. However, they made a game that has none of the appeal that Black Flag did. There's no what's the word I'm looking for, Neo?
Boarding.
There's no boarding. I'm sure the naval combat is fine when me and Neo played. It was all right.
Yeah, it was mid.
But like, there's no boarding. The world is kind of lame, and they developed it for over like 10, 11 years, millions of dollars sunk into that project, and it always frustrates me where I come to the same conclusion. And same thing with Sony, but that's besides the point. Um, all these millions of dollars being spent on these shit games when they could have been put into their existing IPs like Phoenix Dragon. What's that? Sorry,
Phoenix
Immortals
Rising.
Phoenix Rising 2. That game was amazing. Or a new Splinter Cell or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
But instead, we get these big IP games, and they solely rely on the fanfare and the fan base that these games have to pull them through, even though their game is so mediocre, right?
I can't wait. Seriously, I can't wait until Tencent buys these guys and gives us a new Splinter
Mm.
Cell game.
I wish somebody would take control of this freaking company and give us the games that we want. And like Ubisoft is really, really. You mentioned course correcting. They are doing it now, but I feel like it's too late. They're doing it with Shadows, right? And I don't know if I think you have a video coming out about it, but they showed off.
I already
Yeah,
dropped
they
my video about
okay.
Shadows. It's
They
totally gonna
showed
be.
off. Yeah, they showed off like what 10-minute
Yeah,
gameplay footage, and people have like 3-hour streams,
yeah,
and it's so mediocre. The combat,
yeah,
the animations are still kind of stiff. The lip sync, all the things that Ubisoft has issues with throughout all their RPG games are still there.
yeah.
The open world design, it still has fetch quests and go here and there, and just to fill out your map. And like, it's such a used up formula, and it's obviously not working. Outlaws, same formula. Avatar, same formula, right? And nobody likes these games. They suck.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
obviously
You
I
know,
feel bad because like 185 employees let go. That's sad.
yeah. I feel bad
But
for those. I feel
yeah,
bad for those people, but I don't feel bad for Ubisoft.
no, Ubisoft did it to themselves.
Yeah, they're
That's what they
suckers. They're
get.
suckers and losers, dude.
And we're still in the same boat where I'm sure Nia probably agrees. AC Shadows is probably a solid 7 or an 8, right?
Yeah, it would be like a six and a
Um,
half to seven and a
yeah,
half. It's not going to
seven,
be
seven and a
anything.
half.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not going to be anything better.
It's gonna do fine numbers, but I don't
Yep,
think it's gonna be enough to get Ubisoft out of the hole they're in. And
I don't think it
I
is.
truly hope that they get bought out to save these IPs because they're obviously just misusing them.
Yeah, yeah, it is really disappointing. I think you and I are on the same page with a lot of it, Ricky. Remember Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora? What was it? A week or two after it came out, the game was on
Two,
sale.
yeah, yep, they put it
Bro,
on sale.
that is absolutely mind-boggling to me, dude. And you have
Mhm.
arguably one of the most popular film franchises in the history of cinema.
Yeah,
And you can't make a good game. You literally made Far Cry, but with Avatar.
yeah,
Dumb, dude.
and
Same
like
shit.
let's remember, right? So let's go to Outlaws. Outlaws launched and nobody really, like, it was a shit game. And Ubisoft, to give them credit, they did update the game and make it better.
Yeah,
I didn't personally play Outlaws, but I know they made it better and people started to enjoy it towards the end. The thing is, that's too little, too late.
it is.
And like, I don't understand how these games go throughout the whole pipeline and they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be a great seller. People are gonna love this." Like, something needs to change within that studio and a
Yeah.
variety of other
There's
studios.
there is
It's
something somewhere within Ubisoft. And I'm not necessarily. I don't know necessarily what it is, but there is something somewhere that's out of line, out of whack in Ubisoft. There is someplace where
Mhm.
it's completely out of touch with the fan base that they're making these games for. And I don't know if it's the DEI bullshit. I don't know if it's.
I don't even think it's that, man. Like,
Yeah,
DEI aside,
yeah, I'm
it's
starting
just
to think it might not even be that. I'm starting to think there's just people at the helm and people who are saying we're going to do this, this, and this that are just totally out of touch with who they're producing these games for. Remember, you can make your game about whatever you want, but if you don't make a game that players genuinely want to play, you are not going to be around very long.
yeah. And Neo, Assassin's Creed, I said this time and time again, is their last hope, right? And they have Shadows coming out this spring, or is spring, right? Or March, sorry.
March, yeah.
And then they have a Black Flag remake coming out this fall.
Well, yeah, that's
They're-
just to
yeah,
milk, but that's just to milk the fan base because it's the only,
yeah,
it's the only.
that's all they
game-
have.
Yeah, it's the only
That's all
game
they
they
have.
have that people are genuinely interested in anymore.
Like I said, Assassin's Creed is all Ubisoft has left. And if Shadows does any, if they can't even break even with that game, they're done.
If Shadows does any less than good to great, they're dead in the water.
And the thing is, I don't think Shadows is going to be great.
It's
I
not.
won't go in,
It
I'm
looks
not
like
going to go
dog
into it
shit.
heavily, but it's just like, it's very generic. It's just, standard RPG slot from Ubisoft
It
with
is.
a reskin. It's like,
It is.
what are they doing over there? They have Splinter Cell, they have Rayman, they have Prince of Persia. And I will say, the last two Prince of Persia side scrollers, they were good games. I won't lie.
But
They
they
were
weren't.
decent,
But
but
they're
like,
not. But they're not $50 titles.
yeah,
Ricky.
no,
Don't
they're
fool
not.
yourself.
Yeah,
But that's the problem, though. Yeah, okay, they might be a good game, but they're not $50 games.
no.
Don't fool
The
yourself.
thing
into
is, they
thinking
can
that
go
for a
back to like
second.
3D, Prince of Persia, back to like the Sands of Time era.
Yeah,
Get
those
it kind
were
of
great
there.
games, dude.
Get the storytelling back in there. Get rid of all this bullshit filler, massive world. I always say this. I would rather have an area-to-area game, like open area, rather than open world, because it's more condensed. There's more things to do, a lot livelier, and then you have games like Valhalla, for example, where it's just like woodlands and a bunch of nothing. Just go around here, grab this trinket, blah blah blah. It's not fun. And I know people do like checklist games. There are people out there that like checklist games, and that's fine. It's just too much.
Well, apparently there aren't enough of them. Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening like it is. I'm Neil
Yeah,
with the Balding Plebs. I'm joined here tonight by one of my best friends, Big Rick. Rick, I want to thank you. I know you haven't been feeling the best. I want to thank you for taking some time out of your night to join me to
yeah,
discuss
yeah.
the studio closure. And if I remember correctly, you and I called that and said that a studio would be closing down after these
Remember
games.
how shocked you were when I told you Skull and Bones is getting year two support,
I couldn't believe it.
and
I
it's
almost had a
still
fucking stroke,
happening. But
dude.
like, oh my god, it's
Yeah.
like why are they sinking money into these holes?
Yeah, dude. These are
Makes no
just dead. These are
sense.
all dead IPs. They're all dead projects. And so, viewers, we want to get your thoughts down in the comments below. You guys let us know what you think about the studio shutting down behind Star Wars Outlaws, Skull and Bones, and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. And as always, I'm Neil with the Balding Plebs, your number one source for no BS reactions and discussions right here on YouTube. And we're going to see you plebeians right here next time. Ricky, take us home.
Yep. Bye, guys.